Well, that's the story. Didn't expect to see on such short notice, but given all the stuff that's happening, going on in Dublin and all of that, apart from all the junkies begging for money on the other side of the bridge, which happens every day, tell them look at their Nike shoe as they can't be a junkie. Look at me Nike shoe as. There's been riots going on, presumably by these same people. You know, I guess they call it Plan B.
Now, this is all not regarding the shit that happened in Dublin, because as bad as it was, it's just the culmination of all the problems beforehand bubbling up to the surface. And to be honest with you, as someone who goes to school in Dublin, I was just there today, I was like, there's a riot here. I thought this is how Dublin looked like all the time. Fucking hell. Really got me there. Riots, yeah, that's what they call being a fucking kip nowadays. But, and see, the thing is, right? Don't get me wrong, I do sympathize with all the woes of the protesters, you know. All the things you right-wingers virtue signal are the reasons why you're protesting. Oh, we're defending Ireland from these Eastern invaders. But you see, the thing is, right, people who buy into this shite, not the really far-right people who are way gone, but just like the kids who are probably watching me, this is me talking to you now, right? Adult conversation, right? They're just using you. You realize they're simply just fucking using you. Like, all of this getting you to care about immigration and housing crisis and immigrants stabbing women and children. This is all an excuse to get you wrapped up into hating immigrants so that they can spread fascism into the government and dismantle our democracy, right?
Fact is, I thought it was part of Irish spirit to like freedom. And given that, I thought it would be part of it for them to understand that immigrants coming to the country not only benefit our economy, but well, over time at least, never mind the crimes, also wouldn't want to get kicked out of the country. The reason they left their country is because they were at threat of death, and because they probably don't like any of the laws and shit that goes on in their country. Why would the majority of immigrants, why would their mindset be, let's go from this country that treats us like dog shit, to come over to a different European country where we can actually make money, just to impose the same laws on them where that we ran from, which then would lead to Ireland becoming as much of a shithole as the country we ran from in the first place. Maybe some dumb people will have that mind. Dumb. Not everyone. But,
I just realised my microphone wasn't on. You know, maybe me and right-wingers do share something in common. Is that we're both fucking retards. Is that we're both hydrocephalic, one-celled organisms who couldn't drink water out of a shoe if the instructions were written. Who would sell their car for gas money. Make is, we'll have to sum it up because I've been waffling for 10 fucking minutes without the microphone being on. And I know... Okay. Woo! Woo! Now, Ireland is a country that, according to you, is apparently full and can't let in any more immigrants. Yet, when the Irish famine was happening, that England artificially started in an attempt to genocide the Irish, the same English whose right-wing talking points you are currently using now against immigrants who you Irish people once were in America, treated the exact same way, created the Irish famine and did successfully genocide half the population. That's right, Ireland had close to 9 million people. Now tell me now that Ireland, after the Celtic Tiger, who has the best quality of life since forever, tell me why they can't house a couple of thousand immigrants that are coming in every month to Ireland, when Ireland 150 years ago, back when half the people had mud huts with one window because they couldn't pay taxes to their English landlords to have any more or even any light coming into their house, who couldn't farm cattle or own it, who couldn't own land, who lived on land owned by English people, who were making one potato a day only for it to spoil and to not have anything to eat or live off, managed to house 9 million people on its land. But Ireland now, where you can easily go out, buy a bag of potatoes, buy a full basket of groceries, live in a house the majority of the time that's, you know, decent enough and doesn't have any cave-ins, it like, has windows at least anyway. Take your child to school to get an education, have the opportunity to vote in democratic elections, be you a woman or person of colour, has somehow less capacity to hold a considerably smaller number of people than it did back when it didn't have any of those things. So to put it simply, Ireland poor 200 years ago had 9 million people. Ireland today rich have 4 million people. Why we can't have no 5 more million people? You know, it's a simple fucking maths, right? And the fact that I brought up Bangladesh, which has 150 fucking million people living in it despite being smaller than Ireland, and it somehow isn't any more poor than any of the regions beside it, some of which are actually pretty rich and decent and have a considerably better quality of life than a lot of places. How is Ireland not able to do? Jesus fucking Christ, man. The Holy Ghost coming out, man. How is Ireland not able to do that? I'm just wondering. How is a country which has barren lands on its west, which the government is only selling to Irish people for a small sum of €100,000 to rebuild a house on and live? Why is that country not able to house immigrants? There's just so many options. There's just so many things Ireland, so many opportunities, so many things Ireland can do with its immigrants. Send them to the west to develop that part of the country. Make them learn Irish to stay, you know, if you're going to be that fucking pedantic about them integrating into society, you know. Therefore, reviving Irish culture, you know, doing it naturally, not like forcing them, like, well, stick fucking Oscuelga. Oscuelga, you dove bastard. You know, have jobs made for immigrants to advance the economy in certain sectors that create the most profit for Ireland and the EU. There's just so many things we can do with immigrants. Ireland has the most opportunities for immigrants, right? The dole system is provided not only with money that is made by native Irish people in the country, it's also propped up with money from taxpayers who are from Romania or the Baltic states, or even black and brown countries who also pay their taxes and are also citizens of Ireland, you know? But you want to deport them. And you want to know why? Despite the fact that most people of colour are citizens of who are citizens of Ireland, do benefit the economy, don't commit crimes. Most people who aren't necessarily people of colour but are from Eastern Europe, who aren't citizens of Ireland, try their hardest to be upstanding members of society and don't commit any crimes. Why do you want all of these people out of the country, especially the black and brown ones? Almost like it has nothing to do with protecting Irish people, or there being not enough space in Ireland, which had the space to house way more people and potentially even more than that. Right? We can take Northern Ireland back, for example, and house more people there, you know? Make some kind of initiative. You know? Why is it that you want, despite all of that, black and brown people to be out of the country? It's almost like it has nothing to do with any of the things mentioned. It's almost like you're only doing that. You're only reasoning for hating immigrants. It's because you're racist. And you grow up in a culture where you think that that's fucking okay. Well, it's not. And it leads to fucking nothing. I'm not here to preach to you that, oh, don't be racist, that's bad. You're eeny weeny bo beanie. No, racism affects you negatively, you fucking idiot. Being racist affects your economy. Being racist will lead to the collapse of Ireland. Right? Native Irish won't be replaced by 2050. 2050 is a fucking statistic that was made up by like fucking Swedish neo-Nazis in 2016. It never works like that. There will never be enough immigrants in Ireland to overpower the amount of native Irish people that are already there. If you look at the statistics, the numbers of immigrants are only rising by a small bit, and even then, they import a stable amount of immigrants. But no one, the thing is, import is the wrong word for it as well. No one imports immigrants. Immigrants come here by their own will and initiative. Importing immigrants would be if Micheál Martin came to Africa, took a boatload of African chaps, strapped them to a boat and sailed them to Ireland and made them work. That's importing immigrants. Except white people did do that 200 years ago, but we're better than that now. Now, we're exploiting, not Ireland, all the other European countries, we're exploiting the African countries and they're coming to us. And the least we can do is fucking house them. And you'd be like, Ireland has nothing to do with that. Well, I'm sorry. Now protest. Despite the fact that they're completely fucked in the head, despite the fact that they didn't really help anyone, especially not the woman who was stabbed, by doing what? Burning fucking Garda cars, Lewis, the bus, my bike. Like, come on, what the fuck did he do? He wasn't the one who stabbed the fucking woman, did it? Starting fires in the streets, looting over what? That? You know, there wasn't any more civilized ways you could have solved the problem, like arresting the fella, deporting him back to Algeria? No? Also, gotta love the right-wing hypocrisy, right? When Black Lives Matter went out to protest, you know, there are a bunch of violent thugs and looting and for Gibbs, you know, I wonder where that's coming from, the whole race and IQ thing, maybe. But when it's Irish people, it's because they had enough and they're pushing back against these immigrants, yeah. A bunch of right-wing contradictions against, again, no brain, lack of critical thinking skills, what that usually leads to. That's where that usually comes from. Right? And this is where we come into the whole, why are they doing this? And what you have to learn from this. You, the person watching this, not the far right people, right? If you're a leftist, they're too far gone. I can't convince them. No, the people are probably going to comment something negative under this video. You, I'm talking to you. You might sympathize with this, but what you have to understand is they don't actually give a fuck about any of these problems. Like I said, they would have found a more civilized way to solve them. Everything. Violence against women, the housing crisis, the cost of living are just issues that they're utilizing, that they're using you in order to spread fascism, in order to gain support for fascism and dismantle our democracy. They're going to use you, virtue signal you these actual real problems affecting real people in order to gain support for their personal rule, for fascism, which is something we don't want in our country, because they're going to take your rights away as well, and you don't fucking want that. With the limited amount of rights you have now, you're going to have even less. And this is my main problem. I think there's way better ways of solving all these issues: violence against women, mass immigration, cost of living, housing crisis, than going out in the streets burning and looting shit like a bunch of Mongolian horde, violent, blood-hungry barbarians who've nothing better to do with their life. And we can make fun of them for being dole merchants all we want, but they're a group of fairly fucking dangerous dole merchants to ignore. And we have to talk about these dole merchants are having a pretty hard life. And you should probably, if they don't have access to my videos, spread this to them. Tell them that they're just being used by these far right people who are taking their fucking far right rhetoric from England. Ireland is full. What's all of that? That's just England is full from 2016. Nothing's fucking changed. Right? They're using your colonizers, England, people who colonize you, they're using their far right rhetoric in order to utilize Ireland's actual problems against you in order to spread fascism, so that fascism spreads to Ireland and our democracy gets dismantled. And we don't want that. Ireland was built on democratic principles by people like James Connolly, whose statue stands in Connolly Street, which is the same street where all the riots happened. Fucking cop on, lads, for real. Right? Really, all the people fucking saying our country is being wrecked by immigrants are actually the ones wrecking the country, instead of finding more civilized ways of solving these problems. Like I said, deporting these immigrants, the ones that are doing the crime. Not every single fucking immigrant that's come to Ireland. Are you fucking mad? You know how many of them there are, but that's still not enough to override the native Irish by 2050. And by 2050 there wouldn't even be as many people as there were in Ireland 150 years ago. 8 million people before England killed them. There's 5 million people in Ireland now. 9 million people lived in fucking, or 8 million people lived in Ireland beforehand. Are you really saying that at the level of development that we're now, we're honestly not able to house that many people in Ireland? You know, these people benefit our economy. They'll make us even richer. They may give us even more ability to house them. Cultural symbiosis, but that's if we do things right. A country like Bangladesh has 150 fucking million people. That is 100 times more than there are people in Ireland, even though the country of Bangladesh is the same size. They don't have a massive problem with housing people and giving them resources. Well, I mean, they do, but just as much as any of their bigger neighbours like India, Sri Lanka, or Pakistan, you know. Myanmar, you know, just something to think about. It's sad, boys. It's honestly really sad. But, make you feel better by supporting me on YouTube, TikTok, subscribing, liking this video, and spreading it to people who are susceptible to right-wing disinformation. And as for me, I'm out. And remember, blame the government, not the migrants.
Кінські роздьори, дібрівські ліси, гайчурські хлопці чистої роси, свиснеш із дуба, чуть на 3 віки, скрізь мої краяни, махновці, козаки.